Good evening, welcome to the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder agenda briefing for tonight, the 9th of March 2026. I declare tonight's meeting open at 6 p.m. And on behalf of the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we meet this evening. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. Our aim of tonight, councillors, is to review next week's agenda, and as part of that, please note this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on Council's website in accordance with the City's public participation in Council meeting policy, which can be viewed on Council's website. All reasonable care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. But remaining in the public gallery, it's assumed your consent is given if your image is broadcast to any members who do end up joining us. The purpose of the agenda briefing forum is to enable elected members opportunities to ask questions in relation to the reports that have been presented for council determination at next week's ordinary council meeting. This meeting is intended to support informed decision making and council transparency. The format of this agenda briefing shall be as follows. For each report, I may request a brief overview from the acting CEO, who may delegate to a director to speak on their behalf. Once the acting CEO or director has finished speaking, I'll give each elected member an opportunity to ask any questions if they have those in relation to the report. Elected members are not to make statements or offer opinions or declare how they will intend to vote on an item. I will interject where elected members are providing commentary outside of asking questions in relation to the current item. Once all questions have been asked on a report, I will move on to the next report item. Where the acting CEO or director is unable to answer a question, the question will be taken on notice and answered in writing for the benefit of all elected members. Any questions that are not asked this evening can be emailed to the administration team via councillors through the elected member request process for response prior to the ordinary council meeting. No decisions will be made until the ordinary council meeting next Monday, and members of the public are invited to attend or view the live stream of that meeting to ascertain council's decisions in relation to matters discussed tonight. And in attendance, we have all elected members this evening. Deputy Mayor Winner, bar one, I should say. Deputy Mayor Winner, good evening to you. Good evening to you, Councillor Bodica. Councillor Della's not with us this evening on a leave of absence. Councillor Johnson's with us tonight. Hello. Greetings, Councillor O'Donnell. Hello, Councillor Viskovich. Good evening, Councillor House. And good evening, Councillor Walker-Dunstan. We also are joined by Acting Chief Executive Officer Mal Osborne tonight. Hello, Acting Chief Executive Officer. The Director of Advocacy and Strategy is Mayor Hicks, who's with us this evening. Adam Streeline is with us, who's our Director of City and Community. Our Director of Corporate and Commercial is Cass Yeager, who's here tonight. And Louis Camporelli is our Director of Engineering, able to answer all of those questions, elected members, that you may have. No, not Louis, in fact, all of the directors, should they need to, and also Mel. We're also joined by governance and IT staff, noting that tonight we have a leave of absence from the Councillor Della, who's not here. Councillors, I haven't received any interests for next week's meeting. Is there anyone that wanted to declare an interest tonight? No, thank you. We'll move straight into item 15. Over to you, Mr Acting CEO, the proposed electoral reform item 15.11.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The agenda item is partially self-explanatory, obviously needing to have some guidance from Council as to the final decision or recommendation that might be made to you. So there were some questions regarding this item tonight through Deputy Mayor Wynne, so if it's, I might just address those.
Yep, please do.
As an introduction. So Councillor Deputy Mayor Winner asked about the how has Walga sought a sector-wide consensus on the positions. So rather than a sector-wide consensus, it did do some work with, I think, 92 local governments back in 2024, where it sought some feedback from those local governments as to what change in position of the advocacy position of Walga might be. It's now circulated the current electoral form discussion paper to all local governments and also to those regional local governments and to zones to have it passed back through their member councils to provide feedback. So at this stage, they've asked for a March 27th of March deadline for feedback from local governments on their preferred position, if they so have one. What evidence or sector feedback has informed the City's position on compulsory voting? The City's position is currently not based on sector-wide consultation, but instead on elected member feedback gained through the workshop that when we discussed the discussion paper, and elected members assess the considerations such as voter participation, probably administrative implications, costs, uncertainties, to start to form a city viewpoint or a council viewpoint. So whilst no further external information has been derived at this stage, we're taking the feedback from the elected members as how to prepare a formal response. The question was then asked about what was the cost differentiation between a two-yearly election versus a complete spill every 4 years. Walga have indicated that cost analysis is not available at this stage because the WA Electoral Commission has not formed their cost analysis of what that might look like. So until such time as either the WAEC provides that further detail or that Walga comes up with a position statement, we're not able to give any clarity other than looking at what the normal election costs are for the city of Kalgoorlie-Boulder on a 2-yearly cycle, doubling it and hoping there's some savings.
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO. Does that answer the questions you had? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Bodicup? Yeah, ask a question.
Thanks very much for that feedback. In reality, do we, if we vote for whether we decide to have, sort of which either way of voting, do we have any autonomy in it, or will the government, state government, just come straight over the top of us and say, this is how you're going to have to do it? Just being blunt.
I can take this one, Mr Acting CEO, is that the Minister will have the final say on that, and the Minister has sought for sector consultation. This is part of that the sector is doing at the moment through our membership with Walga.
I'm sorry, but say, for example, if we vehemently say we don't want it, we could still be forced into doing whichever way the Minister for Local Government and the state government wants us to go. Is that correct? Okay.
Councillor O'Donnell?
Thank you. Under point 8, any other comments? The other day at the Concept Forum, I liked the comments by Deputy Mayor Winner, computer voting, is that there is a potential. I didn't know whether that is something that we could include. That I don't know how we're going as for the city, but to put our hand up and say, why don't we have a stand up and we run with that, and we're prepared to facilitate that. It's just, it might not be able to be done, but instead of waiting for other people, and that, why don't we just come to the floor and say, let's do it.
I'll pass it on to the Acting CEO.
Thank you, and officers have made a very abbreviated comment on page 14 under point 8, just indicating that under other comments, the city supports the exploring of other polling models to increase turnout, such as digital alternatives. I was thinking after Councillor Bodicker's question about whether the council might have wanted to consider even adding something in about the autonomy of local governments to decide around a 2-year or a 4-year term, albeit at the moment it is state legislation, as the Mayor indicated, and the state government through the parliamentary process will make that final determination.
Thank you. Councillor Viskovich?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Being that I was out of the room for a short period of the meeting the other day, I just wanted to check if any other councillors were open to maybe even mentioning the 3-year option in the report. I don't know whether it was something that was spoken about, but just that third, like another option of 3 years being put forward.
Yeah, I think it was mentioned briefly, Councillor Viskovich, with no probably distinctive purpose, but happy for the Acting CEO to take that on board and as another option.
Well, as another option, if that's what council so determined, that would be another offering. If at that, I guess the only issue with adding new bits in, if those other new concepts have not been circulated more broadly, then we may be, or council may be a singular voice in that, because it hasn't been considered within the discussion paper today.
Go ahead, Councillor Viskovich.
If we were to add it in just the other items as we have mentioned with the computer items, just to say, in case any other councils mention the 3-year as well.
Happy to take that on board, Mr Mayor, and add that in.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Councillor Bodica?
Just going on Councillor O'Donnell's comments about computerised voting, would we possibly be able to look at how that's worked in other places where they've had computerised voting, because there's been big glitches with the computers and stuff like that in the past. And how would you actually, regulate that?
I think that's probably more of a discussion for post how that works. I don't think there's anything that's been identified in Australia that's doing computerised voting as such, but happy to be a leader. We can look to add that into the comments. Councillor Johnson?
Yes, thank you. When this came up, or when this was presented, it was an informal discussion on the 5th of the 3rd, 25. And since then, we've had an election. We had councillors around the table who are not around the table now. We've got new elected members around the table now. So this represents, if you like, nearly a third of the sitting council, okay, have gone. So I wonder about that, if this is the stance that the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder wants to make, and the recommendation going in, I don't think it reflects a fair representation.
Sorry, Councillor Johnson, it sounds like you're arguing the point at the moment. I need a question, please.
Okay, my question is it fair to say that what was then is not what it is now?
At various points in time, council will change, and the question when it comes to council needs to be dealt with by the council of the day. I probably can't look at anything else. The council comes back now to make a decision at this particular point in time. Regardless of what's happened in the past, as you mentioned, there's been changes, but council will be asked to consider this item next week with the councillors that are elected for the city at that particular point in time.
Currently, we have a 4-year term. Is that basically going to change? Every elected member is elected at a 4-year term. Is that going to change?
What the Minister is looking to do is to have, instead of the split that we have at the moment, where 4 councillors will be up for re-election and 4 councillors stay with that 2-year swap over, that will be eliminated. So there will be 4-year terms. It's just that it's all in, all out. It's not a 2 and 2 split, a 4 and 4 split that we're seeing at the moment.
My next one is in regards to a question in regards to councillors being up to speed. In a 4-year split, or 4 years, they're up to speed quickly. A comment in here, I just want to get clarity on that comment. It is the point 2.2. I've just got to get right. I know, point 3. Can I have comment on the time for councillors to learn their roles? It takes time to learn the ropes. The longer the term helps. But every councillor is at 4 years when they get elected. With that as a comment in there, where does that sit us as a council? I look at this...
Sorry, Councillor Johnson, I'm trying to understand your question.
Yeah.
The acting CEO thinks he's picked it up, so he can answer it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Steve. I think what we're trying to say in that point is that if all councillors were inducted at the same time, they would spend the same amount of time learning the ropes and being inducted to come together as that team. You would then have the balance of a 4-year term to work together without a further interruption when the next 2-year election occurs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Could I do a follow-up question on that then? It says, then how long will it take, or how much time would it take out of this, the new 4-year spill of everyone, including the mayor's position, spill everyone, to have a councillor that could be freshly elected come up to speed? What is council's consideration on the half spill with that type of thinking in the background? Is it good governance?
I think there's a bit of rhetoric in there, Councillor Johnson. What I will say is that Council last week at the briefing session considered both forms, I guess, and the change over time, if you would call it that, where you have an election, probably 4 to 6 months of bedding in, I think the term was used, a council, then all of a sudden you have some good maintaining some good momentum, I should say, and then going into a caretaker period, which is now more significant with the legislative changes, as we found at last election, and then going through that cycle again. Council considered that in its approach to putting together some comments.
Yeah, my last one is, has the community been advised of this, because they are the people that elect the council of the day? Has this gone out to the community and we ask for their view? That's the first part of the question. And the second part of the question is, when did we receive this request to have it back by the end of the month? Are the requests coming through allowing adequate time for public consultation and full examination of what this is all about?
Try and answer as best I can if the acting CEO has some further insight potentially. There's been no community consultation from council in regards to this. The consultation at the moment is with the sector from the Minister's office. That has been channelled through to Walga for the city, and as identified through the acting CEO at the start, that is councils and also such entities as GB Rock, which you attended the last one and you were part of that particular process. So forming up the opinion for the sector to go back to the Minister with that is being done through that process. As it is a state government consultation process, there hasn't been a community engagement from the city at this point in time. And I would imagine potentially, actually I won't even finish that sentence, but that's where we sit. Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell.
Just a point of clarification. Councillor Johnson mentioned, and it's in the minute, council on 5th of March 2025, and referred to 20. It's 2026, my understanding is. It was last week we discussed this. Not 2025.
Councillor Johnson, were you looking at last year or this year?
If you have a read through there, it says that this was actually discussed in the questions were
Gotcha.
informally posed.
Yeah,
to
thank you.
council.
That's a typo in the agenda. Should be 2026. So you were correct in your piece.
The 5th March 25 is what I'm looking at here.
Councillor Johnson, you were correct.
Yep.
The report is incorrect. So that's fine. It'll be amended for the agenda. Yes, it is 26, just to confirm. But you read it right. You're not wrong. Any further questions, councillors? No. Thank you. Let's move on to the next item. 15.1.2, Resolution Register Update. Are there questions, councillors, for 15.1.2? Councillor House? Grab your mic, please, Councillor House. Thank you.
Look, sorry, Mr. Mayor. Naturally, I've got a question to ask. I was the elected member who posed the resolution. Look, I'm not going to labour on, and I'm just going to say that I was simply seeking an update on council resolutions so that we were clear and we were fully informed on where we were on specific projects. As an example, the Boulder precinct and the Boulder revitalisation works was something that I was really interested in to get an update. But the CEO has, acting CEO has given us the confidence this will be highlighted and discussed in the next meeting.
You're going to get a question in there, Councillor House?
I don't think I can.
It was a trick question. I realise where you went. Thank you. Anything else, councillors? No? Thank you. Item 15.2.1, Governance and Organisational Strategy. Salaries and Allowances Tribunal Determination Variation number 1 of 2025. Mr Acting CEO, we've got questions from Councillor O'Donnell. Go ahead, Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Talking about bands 1 to 4, and the amount of money is $105 to $1,215. Yeah, and we're talking about the independent members on the ARIC. What band is the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder on, and have we already picked a figure to pay for the member, or will we be discussing it?
Thank you. The City is at a band 1, and the maximum that a band 1 can pay is $1,215. Mr Acting CEO, do you have any figures for council?
Through you, Mr Mayor, only that my understanding is that the council has previously resolved to pay 100% of the SAT determination. So whilst that determination is now moved from 105 to 1215, unless there's a resolution of council to change its current situation from not paying 100%, as of January 1, the city will need to pay those members entitled to that allowance at 100%.
Councillor O'Donnell?
Just a point of clarification. That's a lot of money, and that. Well, the question is, I think we should revisit that amount of money, in my opinion. Can we revisit that, please?
Well, we have to, within the parameters that we've got. That would require a change to the previous recommendation. Mr Acting CEO, that's pretty much what you're saying.
Pretty much, yes, but this agenda item can deal with it in that manner. It could be the officer's recommendation could be adjusted if council wanted to move an alternate motion. But I would probably, and this is not in defence of the dollar amount, but probably would clarify that the new role of independent presiding members has a much higher expectation of their workload in regards to, in the city's perspective, the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor Viskovich?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to confirm that we are voting on receiving the amendment and that we are adding a increase to the budget for a potential increase in pay.
We are voting to note the change to the Salaries and Allowance Tribunal determination, which was sent through in December last year, or finalised in December last year. And point two is endorsing the inclusion of the adjusted independent member fees in the preparation for the draft budget for next year. So there's no immediate changes. Those changes are for the draft budget. Is that right? Or have I interpreted that wrong?
Half and half, Mr Mayor. So our first AREC meeting is actually this week. So council's not in a position to change its current status between now and next Monday's ACM. So the AREC meeting, in actual fact, the presiding member has tendered their apologies. The independent chairperson has tendered their apology. So the purpose of this was really setting the scene for 26-27 budget, but given the circumstances that we've already spoken about, it may well be that next week council may want to consider the percentage of the threshold that it wants to pay that role, notwithstanding that the first meeting will incur 100% of the band as a fee.
Thank you. Councillor House?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just sharing the sentiments of Councillor O'Donnell with the resolution. I guess this is my own kind of interpretation here. Is it's kind of lacking for me the detail regarding what that budget would be. If we know what that band is, and we know that we're paying 100%, and we're obliged to make 100% payment now, I think it would be advantageous to know what that would be in an annual budget. I guess we have about 10 meetings, so I'm not a mathematician, but we're looking at about 10K maybe.
Councillor House, just hold up. This is just for the AREC, so we only have four of those meetings per year.
Okay. And to be honest, it's probably be a good investment because to the CEO's point, and talking to the other councils when we were in Perth, they're really struggling to get somebody high caliber in those positions, and the risk of getting somebody who's not of a high caliber is it's really important, and the legislation that has been reformed has really set that group up to, I don't want to say hold power, but to be very influential in terms of how we make decisions as a council. And I think that's a good thing to have that independent expertise. So if we could have some piece in the council report that specifically outlined what the annual budget would be at 100%, and I guess then council has the discretion to consider that and to decrease as per the percentage in the scaling.
Thank you. Got that question. Yep. 4 times 111296, I think it is. Councillor O'Donnell?
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, it will be
yes,
more than that.
we have an independent member, plus we have an independent chairman. Is that one and the same? They both same, or is there a different level? The chairman will get more than an independent member?
Mr Acting CEO?
Mr Mayor, so the current determination by SAT applies to all independent members equally.
And question, we still only have the 2?
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct, there is an agenda item in the AREC committee for an independent deputy presiding member from some nominations received through the Walga process.
That would be in addition to the 2 that Councillor O'Donnell has referred to?
I'm not sure. I haven't read the report.
sorry.
Yeah, I know your question. The existing is obviously George Arrage, who's our independent chair, Natasha Holderness, who's an independent member. AREC haven't, the audit and the AREC committee haven't actually identified a deputy chair. So therefore, a deputy chair actually cannot be at the meetings that the chair's at. There's some nuances within that process, but that's for a determination for the AREC to understand that in a little bit more detail. At this point in time, we have just the 2. Mr Acting CEO, you're just referring to the report for the Audit and Risk and Improvement Committee.
Okay, so through Mr Mayor, so the recent reforms require that the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committees must have an independent presiding member and an independent deputy of the presiding member. And local governments must implement these changes by 30 June 2026 to comply with the new requirements. So the item that's going to AREC will seek the committee to make a recommendation to council from a shortlisted select number of applications that were received through Walga, when Walga ran an EOI process statewide. So we're currently recommending to that committee that it considers using that process, and they're selecting one of those people to recommend to council as their preferred deputy presiding member, independent. So it'll be an additional position.
So we're looking at 3 positions in total. We currently have 2. Thank you, Mr Acting CEO. Councillor Bodica, I had the Deputy Mayor lined up. I haven't forgotten. Sorry, Councillor Bodica.
Thank you. Just to the Acting CEO. So the determination for those salaries, that comes from the Salaries and Administration Tribunal, is that correct? Do they determine it, or do we determine the amount they're paying?
So the Salaries and Allowance Tribunal makes its annual determination. In this case, they've provided that new maximum figure for the independent panel members.
And because of our ban, that's why we've, that's why those people are actually entitled to it. It's come from the Salaries and Salaries Tribunal.
Correct. That new figure is applicable to Band 1 local governments.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just 2 questions from myself. The first one is, based on what the current independent member fees is set at, what is the additional financial impact per meeting of the proposed changes?
Mr Acting CEO.
Well, doing some quick round sums, if it's 1,215 times 4 meetings times 3 members, through to
Just shy of $15,000.
about 12, $14,000 compared to currently $105.
So just confirming we currently only do 105, that's what ours is set at?
Yes, at the moment.
Thank you. And the second one is, just for clarity, do we actually require 3 independent members, or can our current second independent member just become the deputy?
I think council could resolve to amend its terms of reference to have an independent presiding member and an independent deputy presiding member, which is in accordance with the legislation, and forego any other independent members. But that would require a change to the terms of reference.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Viskovich?
Thank you. Just clarifying, is this a salary or is this a meeting attendance fee? So if they were not to attend, would they still be paid regardless?
Go ahead, Ms.
And per
Atkinson.
meeting fee. So they would need to be in attendance to get the fee.
No further questions? Thank you. Item 15.3, the Finance, People and Culture Directorate, 15.3.1, 2025-26 mid-year budget review. Director's moving to the podium. Would you like to brief council first, Director, or would you like to take questions?
Happy to take questions, Mr. Mayor.
Straight into it. Thank you. Councillor O'Donnell, chomping at the bit.
Sorry. Page 25, capital projects. Why is the golf course dam surface water captive project and drainage delayed?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we'll take that question on notice.
Thank you.
Page 26, additional potential revenues. The Broadwood Trunk Sewer Works was completed. When was it completed? And I noticed $3.2 million is still outstanding, we haven't received. Is there any, do we envisage when that possibly will be coming?
Director?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So that $3.2 million is from the Infrastructure Development Fund, and that's an agreement between the state government and the city, and we received funding to do the sewer expansion. The milestones in that agreement for the city to receive the remaining funds is based off milestone actions from the developer, and these will occur according to their own commercial and construction timeframes. So there's no agreement between the city and the developer of when that will occur. As we have delivered the sewer expansion in full, we are advocating for the release of the funds as soon as possible from the state government, as there's no outstanding actions required from the city.
Thank you, Director. Councillor O'Donnell?
Thank you. Under the attached papers, purchase plant/equipment. Actual budget was 6.079 million. We went over 2.1 million. And it said that was due to receiving the items. My question is, did we envisage getting them in the second half of the year or into 2020, later 2026-27 budget?
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's correct. The timing of when the deliveries were received was earlier than we had anticipated.
Councillor O'Donnell, you got more?
Roger. Current assets, cash and cash equivalents budgeted. Two things. What is cash and cash equivalents? And I noticed it was 24.3 million and we actually went to 41.67 million. Huge jump.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Director?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So this relates to our cash flow. So cash increases as we go throughout the year. However, we have contracts and liabilities that we need to pay, so it will decrease towards the end of the financial year. And this is on trend with previous mid-year budget review as well, in terms of cash increasing at the end of the current year and then decreasing at the end of the financial year.
Microphone, Councillor O'Donnell.
Oh, apologies. We're not on the 15. No, negative, thank you, that's it.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to start by thanking the director. I did send through 33 odd questions, 34 odd questions relating to this item today. I'm not going to ask them all tonight. I've just highlighted just a handful and a bit for you. And I appreciate some of these will have to be taken on notice. So the first question I have is the mid-year review identifies a $4.6 million increase in employment costs. Can the director explain what proportion of that increase represents permanent structural costs that will carry forward into future budgets?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So as Council may recall, there were a number of assumptions that were made in the development of the 2025-26 employee cost budget, and some of those shifts are outlined in the report. However, I'll take on notice the permanent changes.
Wonderful, thank you.
I'll let the Deputy Mayor continue his, I believe you have a copy, but I'll let him continue to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next question I'll skip through to is the report notes a $14.2 million deficit carried forward largely due to grant income not received. Why was that grant income recognised in the original budget before confirmation?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll take that one on notice.
Thank you, Director. The next one I've got is borrowings is being proposed to increase to $29.1 million. How does this revised borrowing level align with the city's long-term financial sustainability ratios?
I'll take that one on notice.
Too easy. The next one I've got is, can the city officers please clarify what portion of the $4.4 million increase in materials and contracts represents one-off expenditure versus ongoing operational costs?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So a number of these are due to increased demand or service levels as opposed to projects which are a once-off, such as the South Boulder wastewater treatment plant. However, I take on notice getting a specific list of what's one-off versus ongoing expenditure.
Thank you very much. The next one I've got is the capital program has reduced by $7.9 million due to project deferrals. How many projects in the adopted budget were realistically deliverable at the time of adoption?
I'll need to take that one on notice.
Problem. Almost there, I promise. The next one I've got is, what internal financial monitoring processes identified these variances, and at what point in the financial year were they first detected?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we have a monthly finance report that is provided to responsible officers to identify variances and explanations for these variances. However, some of these are phasing issues as well. So we have various touch points with the finance team. However, I'll provide more explanation in detail on notice.
Thank you. If the city adopted the same spending patterns identified in this review into the next financial year, would the current revenue base sustain these costs without increasing rates or borrowing?
I'll have to take that on notice.
And the last one I've got is, how does the revised budget position compare to the assumptions in the long-term financial plan?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll take that on notice.
No problem. Thank you very much.
There's a lot to take on notice. Thank you very much, Director. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to clarify page 9 of the budget review attachment under borrowings. This may be the way I'm not understanding the report. There are self-supporting loans, and then there's the loan included as a loan, but they're both negative amounts. Should the self-supporting loan be a positive on the report? Because they're both adding up at the bottom as a negative.
Refer to the Director on that. Just for reference sake again, sorry, Councillor, what page was it?
Page 9 of the attachment.
Sorry, just one moment. I was on the wrong attachment. If it's all right, Mr. Mayor, I'll take that on notice and check with our finance team.
I've got the acting CEO who
yeah.
can provide some clarification.
Clarification. So the bracketed figures are repayments. So you need to read those as the repayments are being made back to the city or by the city. So in the self-supporting loans, they will be payments made by the third party, perhaps the tennis club or the bowling club. And then all of the city's loans, the repayments will come off each year, and you'll see that the principal will then reduce. So we started July 1, 2025, there was total principal of $4,015,000 and $325, as outstanding. And then you've got the new borrowings, which are listed in the fourth column from the right. Mm-hmm. So they're all new borrowings. So that's now projecting that we'll have an outstanding amount of $29,172,000. Does that help clarify your position?
Not really, because we've got two loans for 491,742 in the budget principal, which are both totaling to the 4,015,000.
Yes.
One is, I believe, or three of them are loans that people owe us that should essentially be money coming back to us, but in the report I'm reading that they are both loans out of our account.
Have to take that one on notice. It looks to me like the city has agreed to a $500,000 loan to support the basketball stadium rebuild, and the basketball association has been granted a self-supporting loan of $500,000, which is now marginally reduced to 491,742. So it would have been both loans taken out for the same amount, $500,000. Half as a contribution by the city of Kalgoorlie to the basketball stadium, and the other loan taken out by the Basketball Association as a self-supporting loan through the city.
Councillor Viskovich?
So confirming, we do have $1 million loan against the KBBA, for an example.
City's carrying the debt
Yes,
of $1
perfect.
million,
Thank you. Okay.
half of which is attributed to the association,
Yes.
half attributed to the city.
Now that makes sense. Thank you very much. Sorry, a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
The other question I had was on the one, I haven't written the page, but there's a line that's called Aerodrome Reserve. It's got almost 11 million in the account. In the description, it says it's the Goldfields Oasis upgrades. I just wanted to clarify that's under the right heading. Page 8, I believe.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that's just a typo. I'll get that checked.
Thank you. Thank you, Director. I'm struggling with my docs on tap to go to the next page.
So just confirming the almost 11 million is for the outdoor pool project, because it is actually listed in the report under the aerodrome.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so the $10.8 million, that's for the aerodrome reserve.
Sorry, can I also just look at what your reserve name versus the purpose of the reserve? There's an extra line in there under Oasis Reserve. I would imagine that through formatting it's pushed some pieces down, so therefore to improve the Oasis should actually be up on the Oasis Reserve line. To facilitate the replacement of assets to subsidise operations items not included in the airport movement reserve should be higher to the, so it just needs to go up just one.
So everything just needs to move up. Cool. This is, I'm not sure if this is a question for this time, but being that we do have that 11 million in there, I don't see any projects for that money to be utilised. Are we able to utilise those funds for something else, such as the Goldfields Dam, our golf course dam that we essentially need before winter?
It's a good decision. Good question for the Acting CEO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so the funds within reserves are preserved in those reserve accounts for the purpose identified for that reserve. Council does have the ability to resolve to move funds for other purposes, but that would also require public advertising. So it's not an impossibility, but it would be it would take a little bit of work to do that. Most local governments would do that when they're doing their budget process, so it's all tied up with their next year's budget process. So it is a possibility.
Thank you, Councillor Viskovich. Thank you, Mr. Acting CEO. Any further questions, Councillor Viskovich?
I just wanted to triple check. Does the budget include any funding for the endowment block power upgrade now that the project's been moved to the 26-27 financial year?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, that's been removed, as it will be in the next financial year.
Thank you, Director. Councillor House. Grab your mic, Councillor House does not.
Mr. Vitch, for those questions. My first question is relating to the programs for the materials and contracts. I just want to raise some queries around the status of these points here, and just, I guess, it's a bit of dialogue from yourself or the officers who have assigned them. So we've got $974,000 for airport security screening due to increased passengers. Is this a previous council resolution that is being acted upon?
Through you, Mr Mayor, no. So we have a contract for airport security screening that we pay per passenger. So as we've had an increase in passengers, we've got an increase in cost that we have under that contract.
Okay, so just to confirm, that cost isn't for any capital works, it's for existing contractual agreements.
Through you, Mr Mayor, that's correct.
Thank you.
Next one, Councillor House.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just staying on topic with the contracts, we have 930K for IT software subscriptions, licenses across the org. So my question is, are these annual costs? And if these are annual costs, why are we not paying these at the beginning of the financial year? And that could be a purely an operational thing. But $930,000 just in software subscriptions and licenses. If you could just comment on that, please, that'd be handy.
Through
Thank
you,
you.
Mr Mayor. Sorry.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
so they are staggered throughout the year, so not all of the invoices are due at the start of the financial year. There are various softwares and licenses that have been procured across the organisation that we have had to review, and that's where the $930,000 has come in, where further funds are required, particularly in the cybersecurity space. I'm happy to provide some further information around those programs if that would assist.
Thank you. Councillor House.
Just wanting to just to clarify, so the 930,000 is covering existing licenses or contracts, or it also includes new licenses and licenses and subscriptions?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'd have to take that on notice, the specific ones. I believe there are some newer ones. However, I would prefer to check that if that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. It'd be good if we could just get some clarity on that, so we know what those outgoings are for IT. I see it's been listed in here as an expense we need to consider for mid-year. So contracts in terms of 300K for street tree pruning. I presume we've got a contract with an arborist that we maintain on an annual basis.
Correct. I can answer that one. We've awarded that tender, yes, in the last 12 months.
And we award that through a tendering process.
Council awarded that tender, yes.
Okay. And I assume this is 300K on top of what we've already budgeted, or is this the 300K just being rolled over or carried forward through the mid-year end of financial?
That is one I'll get staff direction from. Okay, Director?
Through you, Mr Mayor, my understanding that is additional. However, I will double check that and take that on notice.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, if I could just ask if it's additional, could we get some a sense of what those additional works would require and what the 300K would essentially be focusing on?
Yep, we can get that. Director, thank you.
Thank you. Just while I've still got the microphone, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind me just going through these other couple of clarifications.
Easy, go ahead.
Thank you. We've got $3.6 million reduction for Kitchener Road, for Kitchener and Cut Line Road. So
Sorry, just to clarify, that's the Cut Line Road at Kitchener, not Kitchener Road.
yes, I did. I actually saw myself, are they two different roads? But no, it's the Cut Line Road project, isn't it? From my memory, the item for Cut Line Road was considered at the September 2005 meeting, and that referred to a grant funding or grant allocation of 5.4 million, and it was carried over a couple of departments. I think it was main roads, some other infrastructure programs. So my question is, if the $5.4 million was received in September 2025, what's the $3.6 million being referred to as a capital project that can be carried over till next year?
Thanks.
So Mr. Mayor,
Councillor
we'll
House.
take that on notice.
Taking on notice, thank you.
Thank you. In a similar vein, we have the $1.8 million reduction for the motorsport project. My understanding that too has the grant element, but I also understand that's a 50-50. So just wanting to clarify, does that 1.8 carry, is that the whole entire project budget, or is it the element that we were having to contribute, the 50% element?
No, that's the whole project, was a $1.8 million election commitment from 2017.
I thought so.
Yeah. City's not contributing to that.
Okay, great. So my question, Mr. Miff, for the officers, how do we, I guess, rationalise declaring that a grant-funded project is reducing our capital expenditure for the year? And that's a finance question. But could someone explain that?
The acting CEO is chomping to get into that one. Go ahead, Mr. Acting CEO.
Well, just for clarification, so the project was in the budget and budgeted within this year's budget. The intention of deferring it is to also see if there's some further assistance to bring that project funds up to the required amounts to get the work done. So this would just feature again in the 26-27 year budget. Any funds that the city has received would be in our restricted cash reserve account now to make sure that those funds don't get caught up in our operating funds.
Thank you, Mr. Acting CEO. Councillor House?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Acting CEO. I kind of principally get that, but I'm not an accountant. But in a similar vein, we have the Yarry Road. So there's it's mentioned here that we need $2 million for Yarry Road. Now I got to assume that our roads program is managed through a scheduled works program. Where does Yarry Road sit in relation to that program, and is it programmed for work this financial year?
It's $1.5 million increase to the upgrades to Yarry Road due to unforeseen urgent works and increased traffic, and I believe that has been since the budget was adopted that increased traffic and urgent works have taken place or have been required. However, I will defer to the Director for any further detail.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's the position. So the Yarry Road, there has been some damage to the road that wasn't anticipated, which is why the funds are coming through as a request at mid-year budget review.
Thank you. So just to confirm that those works have already taken place.
I'll defer that to the Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. It's a little bit like my colleague, Mr. Deputy. It's kind of trying to working through a process of prioritisation of what I need to ask, because this is my first budget sitting in behind the decision making component. So I guess I want to get it right. I'm sure we all do. I've got a comment around the $10 million for the truck infrastructure, and that will turn into a question.
Excellent, thank you.
I'm learning as I go. The $3.2 million that we are waiting for the state to give us as our grant, did we agree to that financial arrangement before or after the M Group contract?
Thank you for the question.
Through you, Mr.
Councillor House?
Mayor, I'll
Director.
take that on notice to check
Thank
the
you.
timeframes.
Yep.
My final piece, Mr. Mayor, is the statement here. It says financial agreement milestones rely on private developer actions that fall outside of the city's control. That's not necessarily true, because we are the planning authority, and if we have entered into an agreement for land to be developed, I presume a development application has been granted, and that development application gives you 2 years before you must substantially commence or the approval is deemed as lapsed. So my clarifying point to the officer's comments, have we checked to see where we are at with the status of the development application? And if it is over that 2-year period, probably maybe on the cusp, if we are over that 2-year period, how would we propose to respond? And if we are nearing that 2-year period, how would we be proposing to respond? And I recognise the question might be outside of the scope of the mid-year review, but I took the opportunity with it being in there, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, and I'll take that on notice on behalf of the staff as I'm getting looks from them as well. So I'll presume that was to take on notice, Director?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. And Councillor House, obviously, if you've got any further questions, please feel free to send them through. Any further questions, councillors? Councillor Johnson.
Yes, thank you. Hopefully we can work this one through. Of the 14.2 deficit, which is a carryover, so these are pretty basic ones, these ones, and that was because we didn't receive grant money. Okay, but have we carried out the works?
And through you, Mr. Mayor, so we didn't receive the grant funding, and then loan borrowings were used as well. So there was a few different, but mainly due to not receiving that grant money.
Okay. Have we carried out the works required?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll check. I'd
Yes,
need to take
okay.
that on notice.
And
yeah.
my other one is, if we don't have that grant funding, how can we carry out works which there's no budget for?
No, I'll take that on notice,
So
yeah.
that's just an interesting one because it stands out, that one, a bit of a much. Under Operation Grant Subsidies and Contributions, there's also a mention of delayed federal government approvals of 1.14. What was that one for?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is for the community-led support funding.
Okay, and we've done no works in that area at all because we haven't got funding?
That's a federal government. The federal
yeah.
government tell us when to release those funds under the community support-led fund. So, yeah.
My question is, have we carried out any works expecting that money, and we haven't got it yet? Have we done any works that we have paid for?
We'll get you further on notice. We'll take it on notice, but
Okay, thank you.
That fund is released when the federal government get those applications, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, 100% I note that, but my question is, have we carried out any works related to that funding? Yeah, that's where I'm coming from. Fees and charges, 6.5 million at airport revenue. But notice no increase in the reserve for redevelopment.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct, yes.
Okay, so we're going to be moving some of that across very soon, I'd imagine, because we've spoken about a budget of 100 million plus.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so if council would like to make any transfers to reserves, that will be part of the 26-27 budget process.
That also goes to the wastewater treatment plan revenue.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes.
Okay. So where is that showing now, the wastewater treatment plant revenue?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so that's not been pulled out. However, I can provide some information on any proposed increases on that through the mid-year budget review.
Okay, and I'm referring to the contracts that we have in regards to that.
Yep, thank you, Councillor Johnson.
Capital projects, deferral of 7.9. These have been deferred. One would think that the 7.9 should immediately be ceased and it's not a deferral. My follow-up question to that would be, what forecast do we have to know what those projects will cost us in our next financial year? So what we're doing is having a bet each way. Is that what we're looking at?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so part of the reduction in the capital expenditure is looking at projects that were to be funded but are no longer going to be able to be delivered. And as part of the 26-27 budget process, if it's proposed that they can be delivered in the next financial year, those would be presented to council for consideration. And some of the other reduction is in relation to our maintenance or our capital programs where we've prioritised work for the remainder of the year, where the full suite of works won't be able to be completed. So that again would come to council as part of the 26-27 budget. Any impacts?
Yeah, I just noticed in one of those deferrals was the golf course dam is one of those. And I think the way we're travelling, it's got deferred. One would think it was deferred from the budget, and that's clumped with another, I can't think of off the top of my head, that they should come back to full council to get approval to move forward, not just move and drift into the next financial year. Would that be a fair comment?
If the funding is deferred, then there won't be a project budget, or there won't be a full project budget to continue the project. I'm not sure if the director can answer some of the preliminary work that's being undertaken, but we can probably take that on notice and give you some more information around that.
Thanks, Mr Acting CEO. Any further, Councillor Johnson?
Yep. Under operation activities, on page 2, it's mentioned that there's other revenue. What are other revenue? It's not specific in any way.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So the other revenue relates to increased rent from the endowment block and also some insurance claim reimbursements that we hadn't anticipated to receive.
That's identified, Councillor Johnson, on page 5.
I'm talking to the breakdown on page 2.
Correct, and the notes for it are on page 5.
Yeah, I've seen that. Just how much is that other revenue worth? Because it won't come up here.
$264,100 in total.
Okay. Increased budget estimates of material and controls. 211K for airport contractors due to staff vacancies. What's that?
Through you, Mr Mayor. So we've got vacancies in positions down at the airport, and due to the specialised nature of the operations, we have utilised contractors to support the team in continuing operations.
Are we referring to ARO?
No, through you, Mr Mayor, management.
Sorry?
Management of the airport. And also there are some ARO vacancies as well, which we're having to use contractors
so
for
that's
too.
Our airport staff. Yes. And also in that, if you go and read that list, it's been duplicated twice. If you have a look, you read it, underneath it's again, which threw me thinking, how come? But the amount when you add it up is about 4.4. Okay, so just bring that to the attention. Under airport reserve, on page 8, under airport reserve, I just want to know if it's a typo because we're talking what Councillor Biskovich mentioned was the Oasis thing. But when you go down and on page 8, you read, it talks an airport reserve or an aerodrome reserve, and then it goes on and talks airport movement reserve. It doesn't exist.
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, that's been identified, so that would be addressed in the new budget.
Okay, so it's not there at all. There's no money in that at all. No. Okay, yeah, because it was just in that other one. How is the sewage construction reserve going to increase?
Pardon?
The sewage construction reserve going to increase? Is that part of the wastewater treatment plant, or is that about our city internal sewage system?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I would have to take that one on notice.
Not a problem. Other revenue, sale of effluent on page 30 of agenda, 373 exceeds budget. So it says in there that it exceeds budget for 373,000 sale of effluent. Who do we sell it to? Because it doesn't mention it.
Which page was that, sorry?
Page 30?
Yep. We sell it to industrial users and also to other commercial users as well.
Do we have a list, Mr Mayor, do we have a list of the other industrial users? Because I only thought we had very small hobby farm users, or no one else. I didn't know.
It's just an identification through the accounting process. I'm sure we can provide that list to you, Councillor Johnson.
So we know. Thank you. And, okay, and that's it, sorry, for that one, but that's, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Johnson. Councillor House, you got a clarification?
Clarification and just a couple of follow-up questions. Councillor Johnson, you mentioned the that the commercial sale. Just touching on that, does the sale of water require a license for the receiver of the water to be licensed under the Department of Health or the Department of environment?
It's to be receivable of the city's effluent, you do require Department of Health approval. I would imagine it's a licence. I will get a clarification from the director to say licence as opposed to an approval, so the licence is the word.
And could we potentially answer the councillor's question by looking at who we've who holds a licence for one, and if that waste has been carried, the waste, as I understand, so it needs to have a licence to carry it, and I actually believe that's through pipes as well.
Correct. I won't take any further on the questions because it doesn't relate to the mid-year budget specifically, but I will note the question anyway. I'm getting nods from directors to be able to provide that to you as well. Thank you.
Can I, I've just got some other questions for the
Look,
director.
we've spent a lot of time on this and already identified for you to send the questions through. Is there anything that's really urgently pressing on it?
Yeah, the only thing would be the actual resolution itself. Can we have the actual figures and the things that we're agreeing to in the council resolution itself, so it's specific and it's clear about what we're actually agreeing to?
So let me just work this through. Mr. Acting CEO, adopting the attached mid-year budget review means that all of those figures are included in the attached document as such. So anything that's in that attachment, therefore, is adopted by council.
That is true. The problem there and that lies is that if there's an error with that report, and there is going to be a lot of data in that report, you inherently approve something that's flawed. If you compartmentalize it and you say that we're specifically pulling a number, 900,000 for services, the resolution is the king, not the attachment. But that's an
Thanks. You're
administrative-
debating me on that. That's fine. But I will note your comment and work with the Acting CEO. I don't believe, in my opinion, it needs to be probably adjusted, but what you're saying is some clarity on that for a transparency piece.
Mr Mayor, we
Yeah.
wouldn't normally put, I think there's 9 pages in that attachment. We wouldn't normally put that as part of the officer's recommendation, but perhaps we can be clearer that the attachment, we can give it attachment a name so that is referring directly to that specific attachment for the recommendations being posed to council.
Along those lines, Mr. Acting CEO, for example, if the council was increasing its loan amount from 14 million start of financial and is increasing it to 17 million at the mid-year, I think it would be wise that we're being clear on that. That's what the actual approval is, and I'm saying this as well, coming from the position of trying to understand this myself and making sure the community is able to understand what we're doing as well.
Mr Mayor, we could perhaps look at rewording point 2. We've actually got 2.2, so we'll have to change that word numbering to actually give that specific increase in loan borrowings and the purpose of those loan borrowings as part of the resolution.
Any further questions, councillors? No? One from me, and that is there is quite a bit of work that's gone into this mid-year budget review. It seems that our controls internally in relation to this potentially have not met expectation. Have we administered internally changes to ensure that this level of mid-year budget review is not going to progress into the future?
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, we have. We've made a number of immediate actions in relation to employee costs and how they'll be managed between now and the end of the financial year, as well as ensuring we have more up-to-date reporting from the officers in relation to their variances, and we are taking learnings from this to implement into the 26-27 budget.
Thank you, Director. No further questions. We'll move on to the next item, which is 15.3.2. Stay there, Director. Statement of Financial Activity, January 2026. Any questions for the sofa? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Again, I've sent through some questions in advance. I'll only pick a couple of these ones out. The first one is, Director, how many additional FTE positions have been added since budget adoption?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll have to take that on notice.
Not a problem. And this, the second one is, what governance processes approve the recruitment of these roles?
I'll take that on notice as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No further questions, councillors? Let's move on to 15.3.3, the accounts payable. Is there any questions on the accounts payable, councillors? No. Item 15.3.4, the purchasing policy exemptions. Councillor Viskovich.
Mine's just a question about the attached report for future. Can we possibly have the report so it shows on one page with all of the columns? Because at the moment it's on 10 pages and there's first columns on the first page and it's just very hard to read.
The formatting in Docs on Tap hasn't worked over. We can look at that. Thank you. No further questions, councillors? Thank you. Item 15.3.5, purchasing statistics, October 2025 to December 2025. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director, the report details a procurement policy breach. What governance changes will prevent stage purchase orders being used to bypass tender thresholds?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So our system currently doesn't have a control where it flags if a supplier reaches the procurement threshold. So following the identification of this issue, the procurement team have immediately updated our processes to include monthly monitoring of supplier spend to ensure that we capture any further potential suppliers that are nearing that threshold.
Thank you, Director. And the second one, if I may, Mr. Mayor, has the city identified any other instances where cumulative purchase orders have approached the tender threshold?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, my understanding there has been one previous incident. However, I will take it on notice if there's any more that I'm not aware of.
Thank you, Director. Councillor O'Donnell.
Yes, the Deputy Mayor is on the same line I was heading. I don't know whether doing it monthly would possibly could keep things in check. However, providers could reach that threshold earlier than the month. And so then is it a good idea to have a cumulative effort within your structure? So like if the provider does $150,000 worth of work and then does $50,000 worth of work in the same month, it's cumulative, you can see it. So before they're approved to getting the next one, it's clearly showing that they've only got $50,000 left. I'm trying to word it so it's a cumulative effect on your screen.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. I think the Director's picked up your question, Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes. So we've initiated this as an immediate action. We'll continue to refine it. So if we find that it's not sufficiently picking up any issues, then we'll continue to refine it within the team.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? No. Item 15.3.6, tenders awarded under delegation from October 2025 to December 2025. Any questions? No. Item 15. Thank you, Director. That's your directorate done. Item 15.4.1, KBCCI Partnership
Sorry, Mr.
Service
Mayor, can I just
Agreement.
declare a financial on this one and the next item, please?
You are declaring a financial interest. No worries. Thank you. Any other further financial interests for this item? No. Okay. Councillor O'Donnell.
Just a point of clarification. I was a member of the KBCCI and it's lapsed.
You're no longer a member?
No, that could change.
Well, that's up to you. It's up to you. I won't tell you whether or not you can declare. It's up to you to declare. But thank you. Director Hicks, any questions for the Director on this one? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director, I have sent through a few questions. I'm only going to pull the two out of this tonight, just for ease. The first one is, what measurable economic outcomes are expected from this partnership?
Thank you. Through the Mayor, measurable economic benefits would include, from the major events, would include attendance numbers, local contracts and supply opportunities, and the leveraged sponsorships. Under option 1, the additional outcomes would include increased CBD visitation and retail activity driven by business activation initiatives.
Thank you, Director. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Director. And the second one is, what reporting will be provided back to Council to measure performance against the KPIs?
Director.
Thank you. So the KBCCI would provide post-event debriefs and annual performance summaries to demonstrate their outcomes, regardless of which option council selects. Under option 1, the reporting would also cover the delivery and impact of business activation activities, giving council visibility over year-round engagement and CBD activation results.
Perfect. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Director. Any further questions? Councillor House?
Just touching on the KPI element, which I think is a really important element for a service agreement of this kind. The commentary you just provided now, Director, there wasn't any highlighting of there being specific targets or specific goals that we're seeking to achieve through this arrangement, and something that we can, as council, report to the public about what we're achieving with our arrangement with KBCCI.
Thank you, Councillor House. Director?
Yep, through you, Mayor Wilson, we can look at previous events and then put some targets against those deliverables, I guess essentially like you would a financial agreement or a grant agreement, so that we can sort of track and ensure that they're hitting certain milestones and certain outcomes.
Thank you, Director. Any further questions, councillors? No? Director, I'm going to skip forward because obviously we have another item to consider with the KBCCI and judging on the interests that were declared. I'll skip forward to item 15.5.4, councillors. The reintroduction of East Coast flights. Councillors, is there anyone declaring an interest on this one any further? Councillor Johnson?
Just a point of information.
Yeah.
Should this particular item go in the camera?
If you have questions in relation to the attachment, then yes, I'm happy to consider this under confidentiality.
It will need to go into camera.
No problems. If you've got questions, I'll take it then. That we'll move this one into camera and have questions about it then. Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Good to raise that. Thank you. Back to the agenda, councillors. We'll go back to 15.5. Sorry, can we please have the councillors back? Just while they're coming back, I'll just get my charger. Thank you, councillors. Just had to head down to the basement to grab the charger. 15.5.1 is commercial lease renewal report. Thank you, Acting CEO. Tex Rio Proprietary Limited, trading as Goldfields Air Services. Any questions, councillors? Deputy Mayor, you have a couple?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first one is the recommendation within the report is for a 1-year term with a 2-year option. Can the Director outline why this is the case?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the proposed length of the term has been discussed with the tenant. Given the upcoming requirements to review the airport layout, including potentially the GA area, they've agreed to a shorter lease term, and they're happy noting that there would be a redevelopment clause as per other leases to do with the airport.
Councillor O'Donnell?
Thank you. Under the officer recommendation point 1, subject to no submissions being received, what will happen if there are other submissions being received when we've already got gas, a valued and good tenant for so many years?
Councillor O'Donnell, if there is any other submissions received, it will come for council for consideration.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Director, just noting your comments there, and obviously the lease partner is keen to be around. Is it worth investigating, or what's the consideration with 2 years being extended out further, just so they have some sort of insurance, I guess, assurance is probably the word, not insurance, assurance that the city's still keen to have them as a tenant?
Through you, Mr Mayor, whilst the tenant agreed to the shortened time frame, I am confident they would be happy with a longer one, but I'm happy to check that with them prior to next week's meeting.
Thank you, Director. No further questions? Okay, we'll move over to 1553, the commercial lease agreement, 300 Hannon Street, or Lower Hannon Street, Tom Cat Henderson Proprietary Limited. Councillor Viskovich, you have a question?
Just a quick question on the numbering. Should this be 15.5.2?
15.5.2 is noted. 15.5.2 is the commercial lease agreement for 300 Lower Hannon Street to Tom Cat Henderson Proprietary Limited. I can't tell you if you need to stay or not, Councillor Bodica. Is there any questions? Councillor O'Donnell?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On page 63, the tenant will be selling animal livestock. What's the definition of animal livestock?
Director, do you have a technical definition there?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I don't have a technical definition, but I can advise the livestock that the proposed tenant has indicated they would like to sell. So subject to the business establishing, they would like to sell aquatic livestock, so that would be freshwater fish, marine fish, which is reef compatible fish, and marine invertebrates, so shrimp, crabs and snails. They would like to sell cats. They would like to sell terrestrial invertebrates, which is pet crabs, and also live feeder insects, so insects that you feed bigger animals. Yes.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell, who's never been to a pet shop. Over to you.
Yeah. If they want to sell something other than what they've included in their application, do they need to come via the council to get approval? Example being, say snakes. All of a sudden they want to start selling snakes.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So the tenancy would be still a retail shop, and our environmental health team would work with the tenant in terms of what they're licensed and approved to be able to sell. So it wouldn't need to come back to council because they're obliged to satisfy those operational requirements.
Follow up, Councillor O'Donnell.
And just a follow-up. I'm glad I asked about the animal livestock because I didn't think fish or crazy crab come under that. So you've enlightened me. Thank you.
I'll take that as a comment. Councillor Viskovich.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just wanted to clarify with the noise factor that could come with a pet store. I'm assuming that there would be a noise condition. I haven't read thoroughly through the report, but I just want to, there's a noise condition?
Through you, Mr Mayor. So the required conditions will be discussed and determined by our environmental health team, which may include noise. Yes.
Go ahead, Councillor Viskovich.
Just to follow up, so the neighbouring tenants have the opportunity to put forward any queries or concerns?
Through you, Mayor, through the public advertising, yes, they could put forward any queries or concerns.
Thank you. No further questions, councillors? Item 1554, which we will consider behind closed doors due to some questions. Councillor Viskovich, just an FYI for you, which is the KVCCI business case. We will skip to welcoming Councillor Bodica back. The City and Community team, and from the Directorate, Adam Streeline will take any questions on the DA for use not listed D151/25. We're looking at lots 101 and 2691 and 3428, which is 223 to 225 Boulder Road, Kalgoorlie. Sorry, South Kalgoorlie. Over to you, Director. Sorry, are there any questions for the Director, first of all? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Director, I have sent through a few relating to this matter today. However, there is one I just really wanted to ask tonight, and that is, can the Director please clarify the planning rationale for classifying the proposal as a use not listed rather than simply as an educational or training use?
Director.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor. So a detailed rationale on the basis of is the basis of the report, detailed particularly in the details section on page 76 to 77. In brief, educational establishment could be taken to refer to classroom natures of activity, The nature of training being hands-on with this proposal with noisy equipment would not traditionally suit an educational establishment zoned area and likely not be supported for impact and adverse bases. As concluded in the report, the service commercial zone is considered the best suited to this nature of use, being less intensive than industrial, but more intensive than zones where more traditional education activities would occur.
Thank you, Director. Deputy Mayor? All good. Thank you. Councillor House?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just following on from the Deputy's commentary, I would like to understand what the difference is between an educational establishment and a use not listed. Because if I was to consider this side by side, if we're comparing apples with apples, okay, if we're comparing apples with oranges, I then have to ask the question, why does one have more car parks than the other? And does that rationale still stand up? Because I think you would appreciate, Mr. Director, the use applying use not listed sets a precedent that is going to be very hard for us to wind back, because this would be establishing that precedent, and we're talking about town planning scheme number 2, where precedent is king at the moment. So I would like some further clarification around that justification, and if that can happen outside of a council forum, that probably be appropriate, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor House. Director?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor, we'll take that on notice.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Johnson?
Yes, thank you. Director, a standout one for me with this one here, because it's an educational area. On one of the photos, there's a crane. Is this is there going to be notification about the height that these cranes can go to in regards to our aerodrome? Is that factored in anywhere at all, or is it just we don't have to worry about something like that?
Director?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. In the report, it details that the vehicles, the cranes identified as oversized overmass on site aren't expected to continue with the proposed new use, and we have conditioned that in the conditions that does require that should they not carry through with that, and they do continue to have those size vehicles on site, that they're required to do a traffic impact assessment to the satisfaction of the city.
Councillor Johnson, follow up?
The traffic impact is not a vehicle traffic impact, it's a flight path traffic impact, an airport impact, as in, are they too high?
Thanks, Councillor Johnson. Director?
Yes, so that would be part, only if they continue it, would we consider that, and any of the requirements required for that type of use. But under this proposal, they've indicated that use won't be continuing, those vehicles won't be there, so it's not a relevant planning consideration as proposed.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor House?
Has this been referred to CASA? And it is the advice you're providing following on from the CASA information or referral? Sorry, when I say CASA, it's the Civil Aviation Services Authority. Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
Director?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm missing probably the context of the first part of that question. What would be referred?
Has the matter been referred to CASA based on the use of the cranes?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as answered in the previous question, the cranes aren't proposed to be a use on site.
Thank you.
Sorry, they're not proposed to be used on site?
The oversize, overweight, overlength cranes won't be proposed to be used on site. The cranes, forgive me, a Franna crane is what is proposed to be used on site.
Yes, and that wouldn't be operating at a height relevant to CASA.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor O'Donnell?
Yes. The land is identified as service commercial. I'm heading along the same lines as Councillor House. If we head in this direction, we set ourselves up for a precedent. Why, with everything they do on page 77, the range of activities are more aligned with an outdoor trades training facility? than an educational establishment. Surely an outdoor trades training facility is designated as a zone. Do you know what I mean? Like whether it be a service commercial zone, R3, whatever commercial.
Thanks, Councillor O'Donnell. Director?
Through you, Mr Mayor. So educational establishment is the closest that could apply, but the definition under the zonings of what an educational establishment is lists things like tertiary education, academies, it doesn't really speak to the nature of this evolution of training, I guess, the focus on outdoor trades being specifically done on machinery. So the zones that do permit education establishment, the movement of trucks beeping, cranes moving, scaffolding going up, probably wouldn't be supported in those zones that traditionally could facilitate an educational establishment. That's why the interpretation of the detail of what an educational establishment is probably the critical distinction. It is grey and it is a discretion. That's why to be permitted in the service commercial zone, it would need to be use not listed.
Councillor O'Donnell?
Roger, just to follow, I'm not a planner, so I'm just getting my head around it. I can't see how it's to be considered use not listed when it clearly showing what they want to do and it's identified in the report that it's used as a training facility. Why, and under service commercial zone, it doesn't appear to fit that. But surely there is something in the Planning Act other than use not listed, surely.
Thanks, Councillor O'Donnell. Director?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I believe that was answered essentially is that the closest would be educational establishment, and the detailed definition of that lends itself more to classroom and quieter learning environments. So therefore it isn't considered that use is listed. It's a use that doesn't exist in our use table.
Councillor O'Donnell?
Can I just ask a question, and I won't go on anymore? Is the determination of a use not listed, is that the personal opinion of one person, or we've gone to the planning section in Perth, the governing body, to get direction?
Director?
Through you, Mr Mayor, it is the opinion of the planning department, so a number of staff have looked over how this might be defined. It has also sought advice from McLeod's, just to give us some surety that we could interpret it as such. McLeod's have essentially said the same advice, which is that it probably most fits educational establishment, but they have said that that advice could also be interpreted to be appropriately a use not listed. The implications of it are considered reasonable, which is just that should anyone object to council's determination as use not listed, while we consider that's unlikely, it's been referenced in the risk table as the reporters, that would be something that would be open to any proponent or applicant of a development application if they are aggrieved, or if any third party is aggrieved by council's decision. There's rights of challenge through either SAT or a judicial review. We consider that likelihood is low, particularly as compared to rejecting it and not permitting the use in this location would likely lead to more certain action through SAT to appeal a rejection.
Councillor O'Donnell, you still on the same subject?
Roger.
One more.
One more, all right, I'll use it up. Do we have any other businesses similar to this? I know we have there's training for some people in some businesses, but I don't know if they're selling products as well on site. They use machinery, forklifts and others. Are they zoned not use not listed as well?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I need to take that on notice.
Sure.
As to answering specifically, we probably won't be able to provide that, and I'll need to also, as part of that, provide advice on whether that's answered in the context of competition, which can't be a relevant planning consideration, but I'll provide that advice further.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell, with your stash just identified. Councillor Bodica?
I was just going to ask, when you're talking about that 4 metre high structure, and they're saying that at the end of the day the platform will be dismantled and adequately stored, is that a part of the importance of
Sorry, Councillor Bodica, can you just move your mic just a little bit closer, please?
Talking about that structure, they're saying at the end of the day it's got to be dismantled and adequately stored. Do they have to do that every single day? Is that part of the approval?
Thank you. I think I've got that question. I'll reiterate it to you, Director, which is the 4 metre structure that has been identified that is to be removed. Does that need to be removed every single day? Councillor Bodica, is that correct?
And adequately stored.
And adequately
They're saying
stored.
that it's got to be, that they use it every day and that they've got to pull it down and adequately store it. So is that part and parcel of the approval of that? They
Yeah,
store
through you,
it?
Mr Mayor, that is part of the conditioned approvals, that it's temporary and removed and stored every day.
So is that a normal process for other people that would have a similar sort of business? They have to do exactly the same thing?
Yes, for it to be classified as a temporary structure, yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bodica. Councillor House?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm actually super impressed with the level of questioning tonight because these are very pertinent questions, and I actually didn't even pick up on the 4 metre structure. So that's a really significant point the councillor has raised because the structure itself isn't a planning consideration; it's a building consideration. And if it is, and if we do determine it as a structure in the planning element, well then you can't have a temporary structure that you pull down every.
Is there a question there, Councillor House?
Yes. Can we please have the officers determine or provide us with advice regarding the categorisation of that temporary structure and whether a planning approval can deal with a temporary structure?
Thank you, Councillor House.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor, we'll take that on notice.
Thank you.
Okay, final question to the director: what does a use not listed achieve, and why would you have it in a scheme?
Yeah, we'll take that on notice as well. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor House. No further questions, councillors? No. The next item is 1562, road naming, lot 151, number 8 O'Connor Street, Somerville 6430. Any questions? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director, has consultation occurred with the developer regarding alternative naming categories which actually sit within the city's policy?
Director.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So the city doesn't have a policy on road naming. There was a concept forum in January 2025, triggered by the road naming for Yulkari Estate, in which 3 categories were preferred by council, these being old mining leases, historically significant persons and war veterans. So while identified as preferences in the concept forum, they have not formalised into policy. Developers under the process are permitted to recommend any suitable road name, though naturally risk them not being supported by council through the process. The developer was advised of the 3 preferenced categories, however carried through with preferencing constellations as their preferred theme. Council could opt to not support these names, but might consider in doing this if the priority on bringing on housing stock in a timely manner outweighs the name category preferencing, especially given it's not been formalised in policy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Bodica.
I was just going to clarify with the director. We do have a list of names currently sitting there waiting, don't we, on the list of future roads and things in the city? Because I thought going back, one had to be in Aboriginal names as well, local Aboriginal names, and then pioneers' names, and as you said, sort of war veterans' names as well. Do we still have that, or is that not around anymore?
Thanks, Councillor Bodica. Director.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I understand there is a policy on facility naming which does reference some of those types of themes on what we might consider. There's a list of currently named roads. I'm not aware of a list of pre-approved names, and that I wouldn't recommend that because there are changing requirements from Landgate as we experienced, is like the war veterans' names are no longer supported through changes recently. So I'm not aware of us having a list of names we've gone through, just the 3 categories. There was a longer list developed as part of that workshop for the Yulkari Estate that dealt with Aboriginal naming as well, and couldn't be progressed again because of Landgate's naming preferences against Aboriginal names. So that's my background, but if there's further information I'm not aware of, I'm happy to receive that further.
Follow up, Councillor Bodica.
So So with these names that the proponents put forward, what's the significance of some of those names? What, just names that he likes, or what's the actual significance to it? Do you have any feedback on that?
Director?
Through you, Mr Mayor. I understand that they were what they considered to be a next preference that fitted in with some other theming that the city's had in the past. There are some constellation names elsewhere nearby, and that actually discounted from Landgate a few of their suggestions because they're already named within a 10-kilometre radius within the city. So they felt as a complementary name, and as detailed in the report and their attachments, they consider that it's appropriate in keeping with how they've, I guess, looked to market and sell the estate, speaking and referencing to previous preference for constellations around views of the night sky, and choosing two names that I guess they felt were most compatible out of the 7 approved shortlists by Landgate's naming committee.
I'm going to finish with still the same question. So, even if we went ahead and approved this, we'd still have to go through Landgate, wouldn't we? They would have to actually endorse it, or do we just endorse it ourselves?
Sorry, through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, the approval still is with the naming committee, and Landgate would formally approve and adopt and put the names on their mapping. But part of the process is that council support is weighted strongly in that, and in most instances they would come back and say, why is this not supported by council? Find a name that is. But yeah, that's part of this process, to seek council support before the final recommendations made to Landgate.
Thank you,
Just
Director.
a little bit political. So you're saying that even we can't even have our own autonomy with, if we decided to go with these names, or if we didn't, we'd still go over our heads and go to Landgate, and then there'd be some discussion there with it. Just clarifying that. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr Mayor. Not normally, and I'm not aware of it happening, but I'd need to clarify what the technical position would be on who has final say. From what I'm aware of, that council's approval is very heavily expected to be ticked off through the process by Landgate.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Johnson, did you have a question?
Just a very quick one. The names that are proposed there, are they actually visual, or can you view those particular vistas from this block?
Yes, that is detailed in the report, that they can be seen from that site. Yep.
That's all it was, because I've never heard of those. So.
Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've been around a few years. I've never heard of one of these words in my entire life.
Thank you. Do you have a question as opposed to a statement?
I'm going to do a councillor Hulse. It's
No.
coming. And can we... Look, we've got subdivisions, we've got Aboriginal names, we've got... Campbella's got plant names associated with goldfields. There's streets associated with goldfields. And then they come out... I'm sure the owner of the developer, he will agree that this is not good. I'm not keen on this. Can
I'll
we...
just hold you there, Councillor O'Donnell. In the report, it identifies that the developer is keen on the names. Thank you.
Can we go back to the developer and ask him to submit names relevant to the goldfields? That would be my comment. I'm not keen on this.
I think the item has been considered in the commentary under step 1 on page 89. The consultation with the developer has occurred, and citing previously what the council has workshopped, which is old mining leases, historically significant persons and war veterans. Due to the circumstance, I'm quoting the report here, due to the circumstances surrounding the approval of the subdivision, in particular the urgency for titles to be issued for the construction, council is asked to support the constellation themed names. Given Landgate has advised one of council's preferred themes are not to be supported, it is proposed to revisit the theming names again in council. It is proposed to revisit... Apologies. It is proposed to revisit the naming themes with council again in due course. The applicant has provided a statement to justify the proposed star and constellations of the Southern Hemisphere road naming themes. The commentaries in your report.
Point of clarification, thank you. I would then I'd love for somebody to show me in the clear sky where Norma is, Corinna, Pictor, Octa.
Is that a question of the presiding member? Would you like me to show you?
I don't have to agree to this when it comes around to vote, do I? I can vote again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Councillor House?
The theme around the table seems to be around the name and having some type of identity, which is important. I think it would be wise if the council had a pre-approved list and we would agree to what those themes were. We would be agreeing to a holus bolus approach, and it would give the development industry a little bit of comfort knowing that when they pick one of those names, they essentially don't have to come back to council because it's already been picked, and they go straight to the Geographic Naming Committee, saves them a bit of time.
Thanks, Councillor House. I've got the acting CEO who can add to that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just perhaps we'll look at reword or adding a point 4 in there, which will request the CEO to conduct a workshop with elected members to choose that list of names in association with the rules set by the, I'm not sure if it's the Nomenclature Committee or the Geographic Names Committee, whoever it is these days, and look for those themes that council wants to reinforce. So we'll put that in the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Mr Acting CEO.
Yes,
Director.
Through you, Mr Mayor. That would be, it's referenced in the board. Would be a good idea that if council does wish to workshop this further, I would add, just draw attention into the attachment to the report. The developer's statement is that if council didn't support this, is the statement they've given around financial hardship and what the delay would be. So we wouldn't just quickly be able to go through a naming process. They would have to reconsider, represent names, go through the naming committee, which takes some time, come back. And as the developers indicated, that would cause a significant delay to already contracted, ready-to-build homes.
Thank you, Director. Deputy Mayor, final question.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Director's partly answered it, so I'll rephrase it really quickly in my head. Housing been absolutely critical for our community at this point in time. What extent would the delay of potentially changing the name of a road to something else be to this subdivision? Do we have an indication in terms of time potentially we'll be looking at of the delay?
Through you, Mr Mayor. Yes, it would be probably some months, depending a little bit on how much involvement council wanted in predetermining any further preferencing. If it was to go back to the developer just to ask them to select within the other two categories, that would still need to be referred to Landgate, which may take some weeks. The last few have taken a few weeks to come back from them for proposals, then prepare a report back to council endorsement, then back to Landgate to get that approval, so probably some months.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Bodica wants to add a name to the list? No? Sorry, get microphone, Councillor Bodica.
In terms of these names, Director, will we be seeking community feedback on the names? So because just looking through this, it says, what was it saying? Yeah, that before final submission to Landgate, councils generally conduct community consultations on proposed names for roads. Will we be doing that or not? Do we generally do that? Is that part of our community consultation?
Further, as part of that report, Councillor Bodica on page 90 is naming is for new roads, no community consultation is required. Director, is there any further detail on that? No.
Road name in the WA. Don't have to? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Director. That is the end of our ordinary agenda, councillors. There's no questions which due notice have been given. We have 2 items to consider with some confidential pieces. Mr Acting CEO, you just draw a breath as if to say, haven't forgotten. We will get a pause in the streaming so we can consider those 2 items. Council received some further information in regards to an attachment which is confidential to one of the items, and just for clarity purposes is 15.5.3 of the agenda, or should be 15.5.3, which is the KBCCI business case for introduction of East Coast flights. Council also briefed on the appointment of an acting CEO for a confidential item. That item will be considered for council next week, and there'll be a late item as well in regards to an audit opinion as well that will be added to the agenda briefing. That concludes tonight's agenda briefing at 14 minutes past 8. Thank you, councillors. With Councillor Boddicker and Councillor Viskovich departing for that confidential, they'd already indicated that they had a financial interest in a matter regarding the KBCCI, so they weren't present for that particular briefing this evening. I'll thank our elected members, I'll thank our staff, and thank you if you're still watching.